Welcome to my fourth post on my blog, and today we'll be discussing the characteristics of teachers and students in 21st century education. So in order to effectively integrate 21st century education in curriculum, some characteristics that educators would need to include in their class would be the following. So first off, the educator should follow backwards design while planning, as previously mentioned in blog number 3, because the educator must also ensure that the assessment is relevant, reliable, accountable, and most importantly, an accurate measure of the student's knowledge. For example, if the entire unit that the student is learning is specifically talking about gears, it would be completely not fair nor accurate to assess them on pulleys. Thirdly, in 21st century education, we see an increase in the use of technology, which is amazing. However, we have to keep in mind that as educators, when introducing technology into the classroom, that we're using it in a thoughtful way and it has a purpose. We're not just including it and having it within our lessons just for the sake of having it because it's technology or because it's innovative. We need to show students that it has a purpose and what we're using it for is for a certain specific reason. So another characteristic of 21st century educator is someone who may follow a constructivist philosophy, which is creating an open space for students to discuss and ask questions. In order to do this, there should be an equal distribution of power within the classroom between the teacher and the student, and the constructivist approach works to emphasize that both educators and students are co-creating knowledge, not one over the other. So another key component is that the teacher must be willing to take a risk and also know that they might not always have all the answers, and that is completely okay if they don't. As a future educator, that is something that I was definitely afraid of because I always thought that I needed to have all the answers and the teacher is the one who holds the truth of the information. However, that is simply not the case, and it's not the end of the world that the teacher doesn't have the answer. In fact, this can be a great learning opportunity for both the teacher and the student, and it's completely okay for the teacher to learn alongside the student. So if there's something that a student were to ask a teacher and the teacher did not know the answer, this could be an opportunity for the teacher to say, okay, well, how about we look for that answer together and maybe go through research and collectively find the answer. So as one of the 21st century competencies is collaboration, it is very, very important for the teacher to create opportunities within the classroom for students to work together in groups, as these experiences will allow students to learn in a different way, but also learn from each other, which can really take them a far way, and to know how to work effectively within a group because they will continue to do so as they continue through the grades. So now we're going to see a little skit of two different scenarios of how the teacher handles a question within a class. Today we're going to talk about residential schools. Yeah, did you have a question?
Why don't some communities have access to clean water on their reserves?
You're actually interrupting my lesson because right now we're talking about residential schools and we're not talking about what's going on in reserves. So I'd appreciate it if you paid attention. In the first example, although it may show the extreme to the situation, it is visible that the teacher is shutting down the student's interest and the attempt of inquiry. The student is taking the information learned in class and taking it a step further by trying to understand the current situation of First Nation communities and what exactly is happening on reserves today in Canada. However, the teacher does not give attention to this and instead rejects the opportunity of a teachable moment through a conversation. Now let's take a look at the second scenario. Today we're going to talk about residential schools. Yes, did you have a question?
Why do some communities not have access to clean water on their reserves?
That's a great question because it's not just something that we talked about in the past, but it still occurs today. So how about we get together as a group and we can talk about what's your research, because it really is deep-rooted systematic issues such as race and just the way land is allocated that this is happening. Yeah, did you have another question?
What's systematic racism?
That's also a very good question. That's something that we'll find through our research. So how about we take a few minutes, get together, and then we'll do our research.
Thank you.
Now this is a great example of an educator in 21st century education, as a teacher is taking into account and considering the student's attempt of inquiry and appreciating their curiosity. While we do not see the entire scene play out, we are able to see that the teacher is listening to the student and saying that it is a great question to further research. We see that the educator is using this as a teachable moment, as the harsh reality is that not everybody has access to clean water in Canada. We should also note that the teacher doesn't simply give the student the answer, but is encouraging the student to use problem-based learning to find the answer. This is exactly what we need in 21st century education. We are able to see how students are applying their knowledge and supporting as well as encouraging them to ask questions and to also find answers. Thank you for watching this video, and please stay tuned to my blog in order to learn where this leaves me as a future educator. Thank you.